Hey, what's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be going over essentially like a grassroots campaign case study with Dark Forest as the topic. So, first, what is Dark Forest? If you're unfamiliar, Dark Forest is a ZK Snark Fog of War space conquest real time strategy game that's running on XDAI. It's an infinitely procedurally generated universe containing cool stuff like planets, asteroids, quasars, foundries, and so on. The game itself is inspired by the Three Body Problem trilogy by Xixin Liu. And the objective for this pass run was familiar to previous rounds before last, which was to score as many points as possible by either mining silver from asteroids, then withdrawing it from space-time rips, which kind of look like wormholes, and by discovering artifacts, which are essentially NFTs. So there definitely was like incentive to play. But like how was this round different from previous rounds? Dark Forest V6 round 4 was called the lightning round, and everything was much faster. This also meant the round was much shorter. Time literally ran faster, and the move speed in the universe was dramatically increased. So as a result, like voyages between point A to point B, whether it's a planet, asteroid, quasar, or whatever, was completed far more quickly than usual. For example, something that took 1 minute would take a few seconds. And so, like, how did this affect everything? The speed led to a higher degree of entropy, more encounters, more interactions, more chaos. This all translated, and like, why is this important for node runners? This all translated to more transactions, which with various types of calls, and because of that, more requests, or that meant more requests or relays to serve. For example, over the course of 4 days, Dark Forest players drove 97.7 million relays for node runners to serve and earn Pocket. If you're not speaking, can you please mute? I can hear feedback. Thank you. As a comparison, last round, Dark Forest players drove 102 million relays over the course of 10 days. So the previous, this past round, 97.7 million relays would have generated 977K Pocket. Last round, the 102 million relays would have generated 1.02 million Pocket. It's quite a bit of cheddar for node runners to potentially earn. And, if Dark Forest V6 round 4 lasted longer, we would have eclipsed the previous round, probably by multiples. And just like a quick note, we only served a very small fraction of the total traffic. Their default RPC provider is served by the XDAI team themselves. And, I just want to share how I got involved with Dark Forest and the Dark Forest community. I found out about Dark Forest sometime around November or December of last year, and I've been playing since Dark Forest V3, and we're in V6 right now. We're actually about to enter V6 round 5 next. So when I was playing, I immediately noticed that I could add a custom RPC via the settings, kind of like how you can with your MetaMask wallet. And once I realized that, I went to our old dashboard and minted an XDAI RPC endpoint to test out. I didn't really share it. I did this between V3 and V4, But then I began sharing a public endpoint with the Dark Forest community in V5 because I really noticed a pain point. The default RPC provider was getting overloaded, essentially as like Dark Forest was getting more popular. I thought this was a perfect use case for Pocket because Pocket is perfect for adding an additional layer of redundancy for applications. So having like an additional option for players to use when like a centralized RPC provider is getting overloaded, that's where Pocket Network shines the best. And if you're familiar with Pocket, you may know that Pocket Network has load balancing built in at the protocol level, which can be infinitely scaled at another level by mapping additional AATs, application authentication tokens, to a load balanced RPC endpoint. So, for example, by the end of Dark Forest V6 Round 4, the sponsored community endpoint had a capacity of 50 million relays per day and was being served by 250 nodes per hour. Essentially, like 5 nodes per AAT or session. And these sessions were all happening in parallel too, which I think is pretty radical. I will have to say, like, our XDAI service has improved leaps and bounds since last year, and this has been validated to me by a handful of players this past round. One of them told me, "Hey, thanks again for erasing the endpoint. The Pocket endpoint always seems faster and more reliable." I just want to take a pause for a second and just like really take that in, because it just made me so happy, to hear that. Because we've been grinding for a long ass time. Yeah. So going back more into the story, this previous V6 round 3, I noticed another pain point. Players are running out of their initial XDAI provided by the smart contract. It's only about like 0.15 XDAI. So you can think of it like as your like free credit for your blockchain arcade game. And yeah, they were running out of XDAI provided by the smart contract, especially in high gas environments. And as you may know, with like Ethereum, block space is valuable, and it's basically an auction. And when there's more participants, whether other protocols, like the demand for the block space, it increases the gas prices. Yeah, and this exists outside of Ethereum. It's happening on Binance Smart Chain, XDAI, Polygon, and so forth. It's also pretty cumbersome for like the uninitiated to get a hold of XDAI. So I had the idea of putting together a Dark Forest XDAI Players Fund, basically from the marketing budget, to make it easier for players to essentially claim and continue playing. The caveat was they get 5 XDAI in exchange for using the Pocket endpoint, of course, which ended up driving more relays. And a couple of series players that ranked high up in the leaderboard kept coming back for more. Yeah, and they really used the endpoint as like part of their arsenal. For additional context, last round we gave out about 130 XDAI, and this round we gave out 290 XDAI. And there's plenty of XDAI left for the next round. I will have to say this round had a rocky start. But, what was that? Okay. Yeah, it had a little rocky start, but a handful of community members and I were in the trenches and providing constant support over the weekend. This particular error is something like we were able to help with. There was a whitelist contract error that appeared because players were trying to register to play with their keys and were essentially overloading the default RPC endpoint. So we showed them how to manually change the RPC provider to Pocket by going through the browser console and local storage. This got quite a bit of players kicking off the ground running, while other players were stuck because they kept refreshing and trying to use the default RPC provider. And just as a tiny footnote, we've also been recently giving out pull-out badges at the end of a round to further reward usage, and just to have like, just capture that moment. Yeah, this. Yeah, I'm almost finished. So yeah, my goal is to keep demonstrating value and showcase that Pocket could be the default RPC provider. What drives Relay growth? Can you hold off on questions till I'm done? In short, applications and end users are driving relays. This is a case study that can be interpreted as a framework to replicate and evangelize Pocket to other crypto communities without, being overtly shilly. I just recommend be genuine, join communities, provide value, and support wherever you can. There's other applications that have custom RPC settings that you could essentially add a Pocket endpoint to. And part of my thesis is that crypto games like Dark Forest are an untapped source of relays because of the amount of read and write calls inherently involved with them. This grassroots campaign was designed, led, and executed by me with the help of Pocket ecosystem engineering team. So I'd like to thank Enrique, Alex, Chris, Roni, and everyone else that spent this last weekend with me grinding and providing support. And to tie it all off, how else can you get involved? You could run an XDAI and Pocket node for a chance to earn Pocket next round. I have to say, Node Pilot is probably the easiest way to do this. So I recommend checking them out. And if you want to play Dark Forest, there was a recent player that used Pocket this previous round and dropped a handful of whitelist keys in the Dark Forest party thread under the lobby channel. And finally, we'll be introducing a community-wide referral program soon. So there's incentives for community members to go out and get applications to use Pocket.
What Alberto did with Dark Forest was a really amazing example of how to embed Pocket within a community without being too much of a shill and turning people off. And also kudos to all the XDAI node runners who are obviously providing great service. If we're getting comments that the service has really improved. So moving swiftly on to the next topic. It wasn't on the agenda. We've added it in. Irving is going to give us a quick update on the status with the mass jailings that are going on and what we're going to do about it.
Hello. So I want to share with you, as Jack was saying, a little update on the situation. I have three particular items that I would like to share. The first of them is that we are working on two sets of laboratories that are allowing us to recreate in a controlled environment the situations that we're looking at and analyze them from the point of view of validators and full nodes. In that sense, we're zooming into specific layers or modules within Pocket and Tendermint that will allow us to improve the situation. We're doing a similar lab, which is the next point, with the next release that would be focused on resource management, alleviating the use of resource by the nodes. And these two sets of laboratories are part of the QA pipeline that we talked about after the last event that we had with the chain halt. And it's part of the pipeline that we expect to keep building and deploying for V1, which is ultimately the way that we a revamped implementation that we expect will allow us to not have the situations like the jailings that we have right now. In that regard, I have to report that we have made big strides with regards to the peer-to-peer specification of V1, and I hope we can share more of that with you soon. So in that will be all for me. If anyone has any specific questions, I think we have time for that, Yak.
If anyone has any questions, just unmute yourself and fire away. Nope. And as always, feel free to ask questions in the Node Runners channel. That's the best place to talk about all this stuff. So moving on, we now have a status update on our Ledger wallet support. I'll pass it over to Alex.
Hi, thank you. I'm Alex, the Director of Engineering here at the Ecosystem Engineering team. And great update on our Ledger support. So we've all wanted a better form of custody for Pocket. Yeah. Am I muted? I see myself talking.
No, I can hear you.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're making great strides in our Ledger support. We've employed one of the recommended companies from Ledger, and we will have our first integration ready probably in about 2 to 3 weeks. The unfortunate thing is that Ledger is undergoing quite a backlog, and they do a very thorough security review of the integration before it's available on the Ledger store and on the Ledger apps. So we will have our Ledger integration done shortly, and we'll be able to have some screenshots up and show it working through our wallets. But it unfortunately will probably be anywhere from 1 to 2 months before it's available as a Ledger application. But good news all around. Thanks, Jack.
Awesome. Any questions about Ledger? Pretty straightforward update, so I can't imagine there are. Okay, moving on. We're going to have Enrique give us an overview of Pocket Tools.
Sweet. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
We do.
Amazing. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. This is going to be a very quick demo explanation of what the package does. Pocket Tools is basically a personal collection of scripts that I tend to use a lot because, in my day job, I do front-end and other stuff here. I tend to look at the chain a lot or just deal with addresses and validating if they're correct and whatnot. So I made this little package, which is isomorphic, works in both Node and browser environments. Which basically collects all of those scripts and lets you use them as you want. You have utility methods, such as converting from a public key to an address, or validating if an address is correct, or converting from Pocket to wPOKT, from typical Pocket. The interesting thing is as well, we have some RPC methods as well. We're using a sponsored endpoint from the portal to power these. But basically, we have some different methods here which you can use to actually look at the chain. I tend to look at, for example, the latest heights, or get an account, get the account history, look at the transactions, get an app or get a node. You have all of that there. There's documentation for that. And the cool thing is that, for example, for the account history, we do some light parsing from the transactions, so you get more insight into what's happening. To demonstrate that, I actually made a little demo here, which is actually a app online. I'll drop the link so you guys can see it and use it for yourself. But basically, what we can do here is I'm just going to pull up some nodes. And I have, for example, a node address here. I'm just going to put it here. It's going to say that it's a valid address. It's actually validating it. Then it's loading the data. And then after a little while, we should be able to see details of the node account. This is all using Pocket Tools. I'm not using here Pocket.js or anything. I'm basically having a account explorer just with this package. We can see the nodes that the chains that this node is staked for, its service URL. It turns out that it's from Coder. And we can see the staked amount of tokens, and we can go over the account history as well. We can see the hash of the transaction. Of course, you can copy it. We can get stuff as the session, for example, the type of the transaction, proof transaction, claim transaction, right? And all of that, you can basically explore whatever you want. If you get the notes again and you get an app, again, we load it and we can see that we get another display. This is an application. This application is actually from one of the applications we have for CLR Fund, which they are live and using Pocket. And as you can see, you can expect that as well. And if you get a normal account, if you get a normal account, then you can see that it's just normal stuff here. Now, of course, I have a utils section here in which you can test all other things, such as, let's say, converting Pocket to wPOKT, 8,000 Pocket, it's this amount. Or I have a random public key here that I want to convert. I can just copy it and you get the address. Then I can just copy and paste that here and then inspect that address. That's really cool. But basically, this is all built with the little package. It's super tiny. It's just around 5 to 10 kilobytes. So if you want to use it as a read layer for the chain, if you're building, let's say, a CLI or a front end, it's completely possible. It's up on GitHub. I'll drop links real soon as soon as this demo finishes. And that was all from me. You guys have any questions?
No questions. Okie dokie.
Right.
Awesome. Thanks, Enrique. You're still sharing your screen, by the way.
Yep. There you go.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks. So next up, we have Dominic from Storj. He's going to be giving us an overview of Storj and how Pocket node runners can use Storj for snapshots and backups. So yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for the introduction. Everybody, I'm Dominic Reno. I've been at Storj, a decentralized object storage provider, for about a year now in the role of solution architect. One of the projects we've been working on is enabling fast sync use cases. So we all know you don't want to trust somebody else's chain state. But that being said, you may want to replicate yours, right? So today, how do you replicate a node? Well, maybe you're doing it in-house. Maybe you're doing it on your LAN. Maybe you're doing it using NVMe and really fast networking hardware. Traditionally, we all know fast sync, no matter what chain you're talking about, but in this case, Pocket Network, can take days, weeks. Goodness, anybody here syncing Ethereum archive node lately, right? You're at a month if you're lucky. So we've worked with Pocket Network. They've been amazing to create a daily chain state. So big shout out for them putting together the scripts to export the chain state nightly. And there's actually a GitHub link, which I'll post after this review, where you can go in and either spin it up using a Docker container or pull down using Overflow. And you can grab the chain state from us very quickly. What I'm excited to announce today is that really quickly has a new definition. So rather than downloading a single stream, maybe let's call it somewhere around 20 megabyte throughput. We've been demonstrating speeds depending on the compute and network that you have of multi-gigabit, right? So hundreds of megabyte throughput. Recently, we demonstrated syncing the Ethereum mainnet in 24 minutes. Now, that was using a decent VPS, but nothing groundbreaking. So utilizing storage, the decentralized object storage, and a concept of parallelism, that is where you can go through and grab multiple pieces of your file at the same time, thus saturating the available bandwidth you have. You can sync anything very quickly. That's a high-level overview. To give you a quick overview of the network, for people that don't know who we are, it's storj.io. And we're the leading decentralized Web3 object storage platform in the market. Not leading by market cap, but leading by a mature project that works great. And the reason why we're so differentiated from the traditional hyperscalers is just simply that our foundational elements, our first principles are very different, right? So rather than having SANs or NASs and data centers that we manage, we have 13,000 plus node operators globally. And we provide the tools for you to erasure code that has split your data up into little segments that are encrypted and spread them around the globe. And then when you want them back, it's really fast because lots of people have them. I could get much more technical, and I'd love to speak sidebar with anyone that does have questions. But we're having a great time building a very resilient, very fast, decentralized network over here that, from a value prop, is at least 80% less than any of the hyperscalers. We're currently $7 a terabyte, which really opens a lot of options. You compare that. Yeah, you compare in some regions of the globe, right? You're getting around $100 a terabyte for egress, depending. So it really takes this blockchain processing and makes it something that's totally possible. So, does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question for you, Dominic, but I think, the first user of Storj at Pocket, and I was so impressed with your guys' onboarding and just the ease of use. Like, just connecting with Storj, going to the website, and going through the whole process. I didn't even know that a crypto was in play. The service just worked. So I was really impressed.
I'll touch on that very. Go ahead.
Sorry, I was just going to say I could corroborate that too. I had the department. Alex was like, "Hey, we need to do it like this."
Well, so I just have to say the partnership has just been awesome. We're here to build something amazing, right? Like both of us, and to find that symmetry between our projects where we can work together, it's been so much fun. And then I get to come into chat and tell you how we've done it much better. So just a sidebar for everybody, I'm going to be reaching out to the Pocket team about updating the Docker image to include our uplink instead of our clone, which will take the download time and reduce it by 90%. As long as the bandwidth is available. We're not magic, right? You got to have the pipes, but we'll replace our clone with our native uplink, and we'll go. And I mean, if you've got it, we'll saturate 2 to 3 gigabit throughput on download. So sync times for Pocket nodes. You'll be able to make tea, and it will be synchronized. So excited to work with the team to get that image updated, as well as the documentation on the GitHub site. That's all I've got. Any more questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. With it's $7 for you mentioned a terabyte, but then in terms of the cost for bandwidth, is that also a cost associated with storage?
So it's actually less. So just and I didn't want to get into too many sales things, but our pricing is very transparent. It's actually $4 per terabyte per month for storage. That is storage on the network. That includes all the repair. So for instance, if nodes churn and we need to re-erasure and code your file to keep the read-Solomon erasure coding ratio in the green for us, we do all that work. There's no, working with different storage vendors. There's no Filecoin like signing another contract to make sure you get your data replicated in a few places. We just do everything. It's $4 a month per terabyte. And then to egress the data, now, mind you, we need to pay those node operators and keep them happy. We charge you $7 a terabyte to egress the data. If you compare the storage rates to what people charge online, it's about 80% less than S3. It's actually less than that. That is a better value when you compare it to like Asia Pacific or South America, where IP transit costs are much higher. So it's a fantastic deal, and it's resilient. And if you optimize it, it's super fast. And there's no delay to get your files, right? You want something back, it's there. So the team is phenomenal. Go ahead.
It's pretty awesome. And then the one other thing that I'd add is like replication. So storage, your data is globally distributed. It's in all regions by default. So normally if you have like, terabyte file and you put it in US East, then you replicate it to US West and then to Europe and then to Asia. And then it's 4 terabytes of data being stored, where that would just be 1 terabyte of data being stored on the decentralized cloud.
Very cool. Thanks, guys.
I have a quick question. Does it work well with many small files as opposed to one very large file?
Oh, that is a good question, because with object storage, nobody likes small files. Here's what we do with small files. We pack them, right? We would love to build a solution that packs small files into reasonable object sizes, but you're just pushing, you're handing the torch on metadata responsibility at that point to someone else that's packing those files. So our block size on the network is 64 megs. Thus, Pocket, compresses the chain state into a single large file, which makes it work great on the network. But no, we really do not prefer many small files on the network. 64 megs is ideal. 32 is fine. 16 is still pretty okay. But oh boy, if it's KB, please keep it away. Said with a smile. Or work with me to put together a solution to pack those files. If it's backup, for instance, there's a tool that we've been working with the developer. I absolutely love it. I don't even know if I've mentioned it to Kevin that's on the call yet, but Hash Backup. So there's a developer that's been writing Hash Backup, which gives you deduplication and compression for free. And he's natively integrating it to our product right now. You can use all sorts of different tools. But if you got a bunch of small files and you're thinking rclone sync, that really isn't the best use case for the network.
Thank you.
On that, the offer does go out. If anybody, I'm the architect. If anybody wants to dive into a use case offline, just reach out to me. I'd be happy to chat with you. And I appreciate the opportunity to speak today.
Yeah, and really quickly, thanks Dominic so much. In terms of like next steps of how we want to work with Pocket, we've been able to show kind of the performance. We think performance is a really important to really show the value of the network, but also like the economics of spinning up a Pocket node from the Pocket chain state. But as a next step, we're really excited to branch into the ability for nodes to spin up on Pocket supported networks. So for example, Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Avalanche, etc. And really showcasing how Pocket can then have the fastest time to life to spin up a node. I think that could be really cool. So.
Thanks, guys. If we don't have any more questions, I think we can move on to the next topic. Hopefully, we'll see some more Pocket node runners using Storj for their backups. Awesome. I think the next topic is Harmony. To provide an introduction to Harmony, Harmony was recently whitelisted on Pocket, and we're expecting a lot of relays to come over to Pocket from the Harmony ecosystem. So, we're quite excited about this. Without any further ado, I'll pass it over to also Jack from Harmony.
Hi, folks. Happy to be here. I'm the other Jack here. Harmony is if you guys haven't heard about it, it's a proof of stake blockchain with pretty fast finality. It was launched back in mainnet back in June of 2019. It's a layer 1 blockchain, which is fully compatible with the EVM, programmable Solidity, comparable with a lot of tooling supports out there with 3JS, EtherJS, Truffle, Minimax, Chainlink, you name it. Developers seem to love to build using minimal effort. But I know we're more talking on the node side, node operation side, so I'll shift to that. The learning curve for running a Harmony node is pretty straightforward. If you've run multiple different chains before, it's not too different. The slight difference is multi-sharded, so we do run 4 shards on the mainnet today, so we can be ready to grow horizontally rather easily. Building a node out, there's a support from the Harmony Foundation with a nightly snapshot the chain, clonable via rclone. And since it's a super fast chain with 2 seconds, about 1.75 second block finality, it could take a few hours to catch up to the tip of the chain. So depending on what time of the day that you take the snapshot, it could take longer or shorter. There's been tremendous growth lately, and our chain is pruned with around, hope you guys can still hear me, with around 200 gigabytes in size right now. Currently, on the validation side, there are over 100 independent validators that's running is actually around between 130 and 145, depending on which epoch it is, of the validators are elected or not. They're all ready to host RPC-based API endpoints to further decentralize the Harmony RPC infrastructure. So today, the RPC traffic is coming in from multiple sources, such as MetaMask wallet users, Harmony-enabled wallets, staking dashboards. There's several DEXs, including SushiSwap, which is about I think 80 plus 90 plus million in TVL right now. There's DEX analytics, bridges to chains like Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Chainlink, Luna, Terra Luna, and soon to come in Bitcoin. And there's also traffic coming in from NFT marketplaces. We were really happy to we have begun integrations with Pocket Network. It was just earlier this week. With total of over 200 million transactions per day. That translates to about 140,000 transactions per minute through the RPC network. We're looking to transition a portion of that to Pocket this month, possibly more and more over the following months once our community agrees to increase the traffic via governance. In the true spirit of decentralization, we're going to use Pocket as one of our decentralization partners and continue to grow with the Pocket node around the community as soon as we can. If you guys want to learn more, you can go to harmony.one/new and just check us out. I think I'm done. Any questions?
No questions.
For the node runners out there, I'll reiterate what Jack said, that it is one of the easiest nodes to spin up. The snapshots they provide are really close to tip, and everything in the instructions is very straightforward. So definitely in the top 5% of ease of spin up there.
And I'll just chime in.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Jack. I'll just chime in and say we're all very excited on the core team about this particular integration, this partnership. It's going to be a really fruitful one for the entire network, and we think it's going to be really mutually beneficial over the next year plus. Right? I think this is a really interesting long-term relationship, and we hope to grow alongside of the Harmony team. So thanks for joining.
Great team. Thanks, folks.
Yeah, thanks, Jack. I'll pause a little bit in case anyone has any other questions. Nope. Okay. So moving on to the next topic, we have a status update on wPOKT. So I will pass it on to Valley.
Thank you, Jack. I'm about to share my screen a little bit. So about wPOKT, for those who don't know, since the beginning of the year, we have been working to launch a wrap version of Pocket. It's a fully collateralized wrap representation of the wPOKT token based on our blockchain network with swappability to Ethereum or as an ERC20 token. The main objective that we have for this wPOKT token and the project itself is to enable Ethereum users to stake for infrastructure on behalf of their favorite Ethereum applications, and at the same time earn some rewards. So that is the main objective that we are driving right now. That's in general a little bit of context. Right now, what is the current state of the project? We have the data farming application completed. It is ready, but we define as a mandatory requirement to have a bridge for Pocket and Ethereum to have a token fully functional and to make the project actually have a sense in the space that we are on. Right now, we are working on this bridge with a contractor that is it has been very difficult to find this contractor to build the bridge. And after a long time, right now we are 3 sprints down the road, and we are expecting to finalize this project around the finalize of November, the end of November. Right now, we are still on track to launch wPOKT and the data farming program on the Q4 of this year. So right now, what I'm about to show you is a little bit of sneak peek of the bridge UI. Everything is themed with wPOKT. So let me show you a little bit. This will look very similar to some screenshots that we shared from the farming program. Very easy to use. We gotta connect or wallet, Ethereum or Pocket for the transactions, and we will have here the transaction history. This is just a little sneak peek of how everything is going to look like once we're ready to launch it. And one more topic that I think we should visit is the PIP11 bridge to a multi-chain wPOKT. This is a proposal from Ferrum Network, and I think here we have Nick from their team that may have some other words to expand about this PIP11. So, Jack, the Nick. I don't know is here. Which do we have? Someone from Ferrum? Yeah. Okay, good. Great. So from my side, that's the general update. And right now, if you would like to share a little bit more about this multi-chain bridge part that will be supporting the wPOKT project.
Great. Thanks, Valeria. Hey guys, I'm Nick from Ferrum Network. Really excited to be here and give you guys a little bit more insight as to Ferrum and what the proposal entails for a cross-chain bridge, a white-labeled cross-chain bridge for you guys with wPOKT. Have had a lot of really great discussions with Rich and Shane and Michael, and this seems to be a pretty good fit for what you guys are needing. So just a little bit of a high-level overview on what Ferrum does. We're a blockchain as a service company that provides white-labeled solutions for both early stage and established projects, help get their core products to market faster. We believe in empowering projects to be able to focus on their roadmap, not have to build out these solutions themselves, otherwise take away from their broader mission. So that's what our business model is over here. We've a couple different products that we offer. One is our staking as a service solution, which has kind of been our bread and butter since 2018. And the most recent one is our cross-chain token bridge that we've deployed for about 7 or 8 projects, I think, right now, and are working on some other white label solutions for another 5 or 6 at this point. So there's a few different advantages to our bridge over many of the current bridges on the market right now. I would say one is the speed in which we're able to reach finality with these transactions. Currently, we're able to bridge assets between BSC, Ethereum, and Polygon in under 3 minutes, and from BSC directly to Polygon without using Ethereum as a middle layer in under 3 minutes. The intuitiveness of the bridge and the user experience is unparalleled in my opinion. We've outlined everything in a simple 5-step process that makes it extremely simple UX, and the UI is aesthetically appealing as well. The architectural advantages are plentiful as well because of the fact that we use a 2-way bridge liquidity pool as opposed to the standard burn or lock and mint protocol bridges that we are currently seeing on the market. We are able to allow projects the control over the token contract that gets deployed on the destination chains. Any token that is being withdrawn in the destination chain will be one that is authorized by Pocket, who deployed the contract on the origin chain. Oftentimes we're seeing projects kind of not even being aware that they have a project live or that they have a token live on another chain, because these lock or burn and mint functionality bridges basically just burn your token on one chain and deploy a generic standard Open Zeppelin ERC20 contract on the destination chain, and you might have tokens out there floating around that you didn't even know existed. So our solution gives control to the project, in this case would be Pocket, to be able to deploy wPOKT or what have you on the destination chains, so that it's an authorized token, which I think would be extremely important to your guys' overall ethos. Another advantage is our security. Ferrum's bridge is quite a bit more secure than others on the market, and this is for two main reasons, right? One is the architectural security, given the architectural differences that I just mentioned about the two-way bridge liquidity system. This also has advantages when it comes to security as well. And the reason being is the bridge contract never interacts directly with the token contract. Therefore, control over the token contract is never given to an outside smart contract, which is the case with many of the bridges on the market today, and kind of the reason why we've seen the Poly network hacks or the AnySwap hacks. It's basically just a gold mine for attackers to want to exploit these bridging contracts through the amount of tokens that are just sitting there, kind of waiting to be exploited. So because it's a two-way bridge liquidity pool, the amount of liquidity that's on both the origin and destination chain can be mitigated through operational security measures as well. So from the OPSEC point of view, it's a bit more secure as well, because projects are encouraged to keep only enough liquidity on the origin and destination chains to suffice for the volume that the project anticipates to run through the bridge. With such a limited supply of liquidity, hackers are deterred from even attempting to exploit the bridge, as opposed to the AnySwaps or Poly networks, where millions of dollars in liquidity just sit idle. So security is another forefront of what we do at Ferrum. We've been releasing these staking contracts for projects, over 100 projects since 2018, and we haven't had a single exploit throughout hundreds of staking contracts that have been deployed, with over 100 million in TVL at the all-time high. So we took that same approach when designing and architecting our cross-chain token bridge. Another thing that is an advantage of our bridge compared to others on the market is that we provide a sense of or an element of token utility. So, we design white label products that add utility to tokens from the early stages and beyond. More often than not, when a project launches, their product isn't fully complete. So oftentimes this causes investors to grow impatient and sell the token prematurely. Unique to the Ferrum cross-chain token bridge, we give projects the ability to become cross-chain compatible while creating additional token utility through what we call our bridge swap fee mechanism. So this is a feature that allows projects to choose a customizable bridge fee that is charged in your native token for every transaction that occurs through the bridge. So this is customizable. Ferrum on our native bridge, we charge 0.5% of the total that's being bridged, and then we choose to burn 100% of that. Now, projects can choose to, do whatever they want with them. They can burn them. They can create a revenue stream. They can consider them token buybacks or use it as a reward mechanism for their community for different, staking or farming protocols, what have you. So the possibilities are really endless with what you can do with the bridge swap fee mechanism and the revenue that's generated through that. Another advantage is adoption. One of the major challenges that non-EVM compatible Layer 1 chains face in regards to adoption is the difficulty in which interoperability is achieved. EVM compatible bridging solutions are a dime a dozen these days. However, the architectural differences that I mentioned between Ferrum's bridge and the others on the market make bridging to non-EVM compatible chains a reality. So we recently received a grant from Algorand to build out functionality or to integrate our bridge with Algorand, as well as from the Moonbeam Foundation. And so we will be bridging to non-EVM compatible chains as well. That's a kind of an overview of the advantages of our bridge. Let me see. I know that the community had some questions through the forum. Does anybody have any questions right now?
Yeah, Nick, I have a question. I think a lot of the things in the forum have been kind of addressed to some extent. Obviously, the conversation will continue, but I think something that's interesting in your proposal is that you have a high proportion of your payment you want in POKT, in our native token. So kind of just two questions, like why do you want to have POKT as opposed to just like some type of, stable coin, something that's like super liquid? And like, what do you plan on doing with that? And then you alluded to like having, a long-term relationship with Pocket Network. Why and like, what does that mean? Just kind of interested in how your proposal is different than others in that kind of Pocket and POKT token involvement.
Yeah, no, great question. So we definitely want to align our interests with Pocket, and that's hence why we asked for a majority in POKT tokens. I'm extremely bullish on this project, and I have been pushing and with a really good response from the rest of the team to move our RPC infrastructure to Pocket, at least partially, for at first, and then kind of over time moving exclusively over to that. So that's actually how I met the team, was through it was prior to the bridge even being proposed, prior to us even having the bridge live or developed. We were talking to you guys about RPC, and now this kind of aligns our incentives a little bit more. And with that POKT, we would likely be staking that for the amount of, excuse me if my verbiage is a little bit off in here, that's not my specialty, but with the amount of calls that you're allowed with your staked POKT. That help answer the question?
Yeah, that really cleared it up. Thank you.
Absolutely. Open to more too.
Any other questions? You might have covered this. I had to hop off for a second. But could you talk about the role of the Ferrum network? Like, you guys have your own token. Does that play any role in the bridge, or will in the future? If you could talk a little bit to that.
That's a good question. For your guys' purposes, it may play a small role. What the V1.2 of the bridge is actually going to be able to tap into DEX liquidity to be able to support the liquidity that's being hosted on the origin and destination chains, rather than having the project host that liquidity as well. So for Pocket, because you guys aren't going to be on any DEXs with the wPOKT will be, but not POKT itself. So we're kind of coming up with a bit of a workaround for that, which basically will just be you guys managing the liquidity on your end. So from the POKT side of things, Ferrum won't necessarily play as much of a role, but on the wPOKT side of things, it can help with routing costs. So like how much users are paying to bridge these tokens. If there's a Ferrum wPOKT pair on a DEX, let's say on Uniswap, or let's say you guys are going to BSC and you're on PancakeSwap, or Pangolin on AVAX or something like that. If there's a Ferrum wPOKT pair, that'll decrease the costs per transaction. Ferrum will serve as a sort of routing token for the bridge. So, but on the POKT side of things, because you guys are basically managing the liquidity over there, that Ferrum won't really play a role in the routing aspect. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yep. Guys got anything else?
Nope, no other questions. If you do think of anything that you want to ask, feel free to go on the forum and reply to the proposal. There'll be a fair bit of discussion, I imagine, and then it will ultimately go up to the DAO for a vote. So if you have strong feelings about this, make those feelings known.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo that sentiment for sure. There were some questions that I am planning on getting back to in the forum. Yeah, I'll be communicating with you guys via the forum as well, and I look forward to all the feedback that you guys have. And we're super psyched about this, and really hope that you guys are as well. And yeah, just super bullish on this project as well. I think what you guys are doing is super cool. So thanks for having me, you guys.
Thanks for joining us. So yeah, I think we've covered everything on the agenda. I'm actually surprised that we managed to fall almost just outside of time. Does anyone have anything that they want to bring up? Any questions? General questions, not necessarily about stuff that we've already talked about. If not, I think we can wrap it up, but I'll pause for a minute and let anyone unmute and share. Nope. Okay. Seems like we are done. Thanks for joining, everyone.
Great work, everyone.
Thank you, Jack.
Can we get some outro elevator music?
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Till the end, please. Keep doing it. Don't forget the dance. Bye, thank you.
Thanks, everyone.